sit up straight on some kind of support that makes it easy for you to pull your spine up tall. So that could even include sitting on the chair seat if you have back pain. Just sit straight, thighs grounded. The point being, be comfy, comfortable. Locate the ground, the pull of gravity, and engage with it. You have to engage with that pull to draw your spine up away, keeping that spine tall. Roll these shoulder joints back. When you do that, the idea is to make it easier to finish coming up through the ribs and spine. So if that shoulder girdle is forward, it tends to weigh a bit on the rib cage. So if you come up, roll the shoulders back, and then release that limb down. Keep the chest lifted, throat soft, head level. This is not easy. I'd say doing this well is kind of an intermediate pose. A lot of us, we get very caught up in pulling up tall and making that effort. And we forget about the rest of it, which is release laterally. Don't just pull tall, also expand. Broaden that back, broaden your shoulders, broaden this chest, broaden the diaphragm, back diaphragm, front diaphragm. Broaden your top thighs, broaden the buttocks. So extension first, expansion second. Join your palms. Use that joining to increase both extension and expansion. In this way, prepare yourself for practice and pay homage to your practice. Bow your head, release your hands, raise your head, open your eyes. Today, it's the end of the month, wherein I usually teach a restorative type practice. So here's what we do. I'm assuming you each have 2 or 3 blankets, maybe 2 blankets. You might have a strap. You might have a chair, like you see there. You might have some other stuff, but I'm going to try to keep a sticky mat. If you have other things, like a bolster, that's great. If you have extra blankets, that's great. Take one blanket, like, and fold it lengthwise, narrowly, so it makes a shape that'll run parallel to your spine like this. And it would be long enough to support from your low back to your head. So you get at least one of those blankets. Those who have more blankets, you make two like that. And if you had a third blanket, you'd put it under your head. Now, the folding of this third blanket, this head blanket, is very personal. So what I just showed was what I'm calling a four-fold blanket. From this basic shape, you fold it and then fold it again. So that's four-fold, but you could also three-fold it. That's just zigzag folded in thirds instead of fourths. That's not as thick. And some of you might be quite happy just leaving it folded in half. Very personal. It's your neck, your chest. First pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining bound angle. This is the angle, and it's bound like this one by the joining of the feet. Now, to make it easy, there are a couple of things. One is using a strap, making a large loop. This is a 6-foot strap. Some of you, an 8-foot strap if you're tall or large or stiff. Sometimes a 6-foot strap is too short. The whole strap goes over your head and it goes down it back around the buttocks, not your low back. I'll show, but in front, it goes under the feet, over the ankles, over the thighs. Yeah. And if it's already looped, your twisting potential is reduced. Okay, so in back, the strap might start out as you're working high, but it should come down. Don't sit on it. Keep it low on the buttocks. And don't over tighten. There should be some give. Now, last bit. If you have bricks, if you have extra blankets, yay. I've got a bazillion blankets, but it's my job. So you guys, I'm gonna work with the usual array. You can support knees, thighs, shins. You can even support lengthwise under the thigh. It's all according to you. Lie back, tuck your buttocks, lengthen your spine, tuck those shoulder blades flat, release your arms. Now, if those groins are very tight, the bricks rise up. Okay, so those people I don't see, I hope you're doing just fine. And everybody else, make sure that buttocks are released. Oh, Glenda, the strap needs to go. Sit up again, pull that strap up on top of the knee. It does not go on the outside, it goes on top. That's it. Then under the feet. Then tighten it and slip it low on the buttocks before it gets too tight. Then you lie back, buttocks off the blanket. Yes. Now bricks as high as necessary to support those thighs, so the groins are comfortable. Okay. So if you lay yourself out in this pose nicely, there's a sense of extension in the trunk from the pelvis to the lifted chest. That belt should be around the pelvis, not the lumbars. So there is also in the shape of the legs a kind of a hint about widening, releasing the width from groin to knee. If the leg is properly supported, that release is easy. If the leg is unsupported, it might feel too much. So keep that widening, bring it up to the region of the navel, and imagine that there's a donut shape, imaginary structure around the navel. And as you breathe, inhaling, it spreads. Likewise, the umbrella shape of the diaphragm, right at the spine where it attaches, and all the way around to the front at the, just at the root of the sternum, breastbone. If the shoulder blades are tucked the way we spoke of right at the beginning of class, toward the floor, in this case, down the back, so that chest is free to lift, there is a lovely feeling of spreading across the collarbone, chest, armpit to armpit, soft throat, soft jaw. The inside of the mouth widens. The tongue widens. Roof of the mouth widens. Sinuses spread. Even the corners of the eyes release away from each other. It's time to come up. So an easy way, if your strap is not too tight, is to simply slip a foot out, then the other. You can help your knees together, remove the bricks or props beside you, and very gently roll to your side, and come up sitting, head last. Straps away. Now, according to your experience, the next pose has 2 or 3 forms. Let's say 2 forms. So the lower form either has a bolster if you've got one under the spine, or a similar stack of these long blankets. The higher form, let's see, let's show the lower in front, works with a chair seat and possibly a brick placed on the back part of that chair seat. So here's for the stiffer people. You will kneel in Vajrasana, Virasana, but you don't have to stay long. You just need to locate up where your back is going to land on the edge of this chair seat. You need, here's the base of my sternum. Right behind that, same place in back. Here's the front, here's the back. That's got to go to the chair seat edge, and my hips come up and my head comes down. My hands turn and hold the top of the chair seat. Now I'm pulling to make that shoulder blade come down. It's only my head on this brick, not my shoulders. They are hopefully moving toward the chair seat. Now, if your chest really opens, your head will come down and your arms will go through the chair. Now, lower down, it's just lying on the bolster, fully extended. I don't know if anybody can do this. I don't really want to get ahead of the group. Does anybody want me to show this? I see a lot of chairs. Okay, I also see some blankets, so buttocks down, chest elevated. Abdomen from this base of the rib cage to the pelvis, there's this extension down. Furthermore, thighs extend, shins extend, arms extend. So some of you are on the chair, some of you are on a bolster. And if this is just not thinkable at your condition or experience, then you can sit on whatever height suits you. I'm just saying, you can build up height and sit up straight. Okay. So I will not complain or ask questions if I see some of you sitting up straight. This make no comments. Make sure those toes stretch, thighs stretch. When you go back with the chest elevated, keep the buttocks down. Yes, off support. And if the buttocks are elevated, the chest should be elevated higher. So Glenda, the pelvis should be below the chest, on the floor, yes. And the chest, and so if your hips or knees won't accept that, then you must come up higher in the chest than you do in the hips. And this is why the chair option is good, because it's really for people with knee issues. I'm not sure, you're muted, so I don't know what. If you had more height on top of your blankets, I don't know if that would help. Oh, I see the, yeah. Come out, everybody. So Glenda, you could, you could unmute yourself and tell me if it's a knee or a hip or a low back, please, so I know what I might be.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't quite, I'm not quite able to do the blanket stuff. So
it's too,
yeah, it hurts my lower back.
yes. Okay.
So
this is why more height.
Okay.
So
I don't have any more blankets.
well, that's why the chair was the option. Yes, blankets, that'd work. But we're proceeding. But now I know it's the low back. Thank you. Okay. So everybody should sit on a series of folded blankets as high as you need. 2 blankets, 3 blankets, that's fine. Whatever works. In this pose, you just, you might say, got out of. Okay. And turn very gently. So you see this stretch of blanket behind me. I can actually catch hold of that, and it helps me spread and turn. So if you don't have a stretch of blanket behind you, then put a brick on the floor. But the idea is expand. Now, you're going to your right. So your left hand comes to the right knee, and the right hand comes behind you. And if it causes you to lean forward to come to your knee, come back upright and just hold the part of the thigh that you run into upright. Let those buttocks go down equally, left and right. Stretch your toes, shins, thighs. That connectivity begins changing the pattern of the breath. Now keep yourself upright. Come back around slowly to the center. And just stay there centered. Many of us in in physical terms, it takes a few seconds to actually feel like the brain has turned straight, the muscles, etc. Everything is background straight. Stretch your toes. A restorative class is about the nervous system, right? So yes, we're using arms, legs, muscles. That's the instruction. Stretch your shin, lengthen your thigh, sit the buttocks equally and stretch the spine. Now, this is muscles, bones, joints. Widen your elbows. Musculoskeletal work. But after you get your body in position, now let the nerves spread. So look, if the pose it creates aches and pains, do less, but see if you can stay with one side. Come out. Make sure you're untwisted. Then this is a different leg position I'll show. In theory, there's no blankets. Toes together and knees apart. So I sit on my heels looking from behind. Looks like this. And if you have stiffness, you start building up support. Okay. So in this shape, with or without support, you probably need a brick. And you walk these hands part way forward. And that push of the straight arm sends weight back onto those thighs, onto that blanket or your heels. So there's a settling. And away from that, lengthen the spine. Then you go forward, settle into the thighs, lengthen the spine, go forward. Eventually, your forehead is going to come down onto some height of brick. Okay, forehead, if you wear glasses, take them off and stretch through the arms. So keep the weight settled back on the hips, thighs. Continue to spread your toes. And just the act of getting awakened all the way to that foot, lengthening through the shin, there's a reflection that comes back in through the hips and helps you settle the groins better. And that changes the breathing, hopefully relaxes it more, normalizes the breath. Remember, the definition of a normalized breath is one that is not constricted, not limited, not stuck. An abnormal breath has limitations, blockages, stuckness, narrowness. Okay. So just as the body relaxes, maybe the head comes forward, the brick has to come forward, keeping the hips settled, make the most of your length. And then slowly push with the hands, sit back on the heels, come upright. Okay. Now, you won't have some form of chair, I think, I hope. So you take this chair and you bring it to a wall. So you can push on it and, right, I can push and it's not gonna travel. Then you tuck your shirt in and watch. You put your hands, here's the chair close to the camera view. So my hands, my thumbs are going forward on this chair seat. My hands, the rest of my hand is like a wing off that chair seat. So it's like this inner palm where my other hand is where that chair seat is. So thumbs forward and that cushy inner palm of the hand is supported on the chair. I'm going to take my feet back and I'm going to push straight back. So my feet could start underneath the hips and stretch. But over time, you're going to back those heels up so you're bearing a bit more weight on the arms. So you go from vertical legs, yeah, back up just a little bit, Glenda, and push that chair forward and pull your thighs back. Separate your feet slightly. So you can feel each leg separately. And stretch your toes, spread your feet. Straighten the leg, pushing the heel into the floor. Lift that thigh up to the hip socket. And move the top thigh back. Release the ribs. So once again, we're in the world of extension, linear extension from heels to hips, through the spine to the head, through the arms to the hands, all kind of one set of parallel lines. And yet the next thing you get asked for is spread. So roll your outer arms down, triceps in. That's going to help you spread the top shoulder. Walk the feet in, come up. So let's say you have that stack of blankets. Let's say you only have 2 blankets. Okay, that's the minimum. All right, so we're going to do Adho Mukha Svanasana, that same pose on the floor, but trying to get some head support. So watch, I'm going to do Adho Mukha Virasana. And in setting this up, I make sure that from my elbow back toward my head, there is blanket. Do you see? This is the part of the blanket that I need. Okay, so watch. Doesn't look like it, but here I go. Adho Mukha Svanasana. See where my head goes. It's behind where my elbows were. Now, for some people, this is not enough support. So you just fold up a blanket till you make contact. You find Adho Mukha Virasana. And you come up. Close your eyes when you come up so you don't start shifting your head around that support. Take that pose. Don't bend your elbows to come to meet the blanket. So as I said, that support is from the elbows toward the head when you're in Adho Mukha Virasana. Right? It's got to be underneath your elbows. The part near your hands is not relevant. Now, when you go forward, watch this. See where that pile is. See where that pile is. It is not here. It's here. Then you come up and it looks like it's in the wrong place. But when you come back, it's in the right place. Okay? Hands forward of that. Hands forward of that, Glenda. Move, walk your hands forward. Yes. Now turn your toes under. Yes. Keep your heels up high. Now, some of you have been here for a while, so by all means rest. Some of you are figuring it out. I will confess at this time that it took me quite a while to figure out how to let my head and neck rest in this pose instead of constantly having this little, interaction with the blanket where I'd be resting and then picking my head up and then thinking, well, should I be more on the top or more on my, just a constant shifting. Really, that's more a problem of my nervous system, right? So I'm going to suggest to you that there's a thing that's going on in your nervous system. Either, well, two things. Either you haven't got the height of the blanket right for your particular neck, or you got a nervous system that's active, agitated, and it won't let your head rest. That is kind of what this sequence is about, getting that nervous system to rest. So come out, everybody. Some of you have stayed quite a while. So please come out and rest. The next pose might involve a chair. I'm going to just clean some props away. Might involve a chair, might involve a brick or two. So for those who are inflexible in forward bends, the head will come to rest on the chair seat. Might also require some height on top of the chair seat. It just depends on your flexibility. Now, some are more flexible, and you might work with any combination of brick support and just to show you, if the feet are closer together, the pose gets taller. So yes, this is Ruby the cat. So if you are just barely in contact and you want to make more, widen your feet. And if there's too much contact, narrow your feet. And it'll pick you up that fraction. Okay, so the idea is legs straight. So you got to pick a height that is comfy for you. Now, if you're getting up on 2 tall bricks, you might as well take that chair, because 2 tall bricks is almost the height of the chair. Be stable and let your arms be in resting on the chair or resting on bricks or on the floor. But take support. So once again, that back body is in extension. Musculoskeletal extension. And you want to add to that expansion. Now, slowly come up. And go back to this comfortable Adho Mukha Virasana. Buttocks resting, head resting on the floor or a brick or some support, toes together, knees apart. Settle. Now, come up and take, let's see, here's your blankets again. Folded longwise. Take 2 of these and see that they've got one long single folded edge and the other side is full of like multiple edges. So keep the 2 single folds against each other. Bring this over to your wall. I'm gonna bring the camera a little bit closer so you get a slightly better angle. And I have a strap. Back to the strap. And it's open to a big loop, large. Okay, so these 2 blankets guess where they're going to go? If you see that, oh, I'll show it. Here's a yoga brick. So you get the idea. There's a yoga brick width in between these blankets and the wall. Here's the brick. Okay, there's that amount of distance. Okay, that means this edge of the brick is gonna, that's a blanket. That the edge of the blanket, when my back is on it, that edge is gonna be here, not here. Doesn't go around my pelvis. It kind of crosses my low back. So watch this. I'm going to face away from the wall, and I'm going to sit down, and I'm just going to roll over. And the straighter I get, the more I stay close to the wall. But even if I don't, sorry for the cat, I just shimmy back in, buttock bones right up to the wall. And that puts that blanket right at my rib cage where I want it to be. Then there's that strap, and I put it around my feet. See it? And it's around my foot, right close to the shin. It's not at the toe side. It's back close to the heel, and the feet come apart, and they rest on the wall. If you want a formal name for this, it is Viparita Konasana. Inverted angle. So Pratima, if the feet could go wider, that would be nice. If you are missing a strap, if you do not have a strap, keep the legs together. There is way too much musculoskeletal effort in this pose, keeping the legs wide apart. Gravity is not your friend for that. So those who could take that strap out to about an 8-foot length, some of you only have a 6-foot, but I see some of you do have longer straps. So if the hips are comfortable and the legs could go a bit wider, do that. Now, Glenda, a wall is helpful. And you need your hips on that blanket, not on the floor. Nobody's hips are on the floor. So look, if you don't have a wall, watch what I do. This is my version of your couch. Oh, there's your chair. Better use the chair. Put this blanket some inches in front of, remember, the chair seat. Get some space there. Then onto your lumbars you go. Look at where I am here. My pelvis is not on the floor. It's afloat up in the air. And my shoulders are on the floor. You don't need that strap. Rest on the chair seat. Thread your feet through. Yes. And make that blanket comfy. Let your arms release. There is width. There is some extension in the spine. Keep that strap around your feet very close to the ankle instead of the toes. You'll be able to rest the leg much better. Excuse me. Now, everybody whose legs are up the wall, vertical, you want to, I'm not quite at the wall, but I'm going to act like I am. You take that strap and bend your knees so you are pulling the soles of the feet together down the wall. So you're doing Baddha Konasana again with your feet resting on the wall. And then just settle and push yourself away from the wall enough that you can roll to your side and come up sitting. Okay, so then you've got these blankets, and I'm going to face you so you see, and I'm going to face sideways so you see that too. Okay, so facing you, I'm going to sit on that blanket height with my legs stretched forward. Most of you, just watch, are going to want a chair nearby, or if you have a bolster. The right knee, being mirroring you, the right knee bends. Your right thigh is going to rest on this blanket, and the right shin and foot will be off it. So if you see it, my thigh comes out and rests on that blanket, but my shin and foot are just in front of it. Okay. This gives room for my knee and my hip, and hopefully yours as well. So this is Janu Shirshasana. And I'm just going to point out that your straight leg, left leg, is doing from the foot up to your head and out to your arm, it's doing a big linear extension. This side is doing a widening shape. So don't divide your body and just say my right side is going to spread, my left side is going to stretch. Make sure that this left side also can expand. And make sure this right side also can extend through to the shin, out to the knee, up through the spine. Now, in other words, learn from each side what the other can do. Those who are tight, you work with the chair. You just come forward with support. Those who are more flexible, you always take something. If there's something under the hips, you want something under your head, even if you go all the way down. There's no requirement that you get ambitious. Do what you can. Do not pressurize the joints. I'll just say this is my experience, and anybody I know, if you have trouble with the joints, it's going to stop extension and expansion. You have to settle the alignment issues with the joints. So that you can move through them, not get stuck. So the linear, that straight leg stretches straighter, longer through the ribs, through the spine. That widening leg widens backward to the left side as much as out to the right. Come up slowly. Stretch both legs. Shift to the other side of that long blanket. So both buttocks are supported, but you've got thigh support for that bending left thigh. So again, that some part of that left thigh is on that blanket, and the left shin and foot come toward the floor. Some people, I'm just going to say, prefer sitting much further back. These are the more open-hipped people. People with tighter hips like to be more forward, shin down, just some thigh support, but the whole shin down. So there's a variability. What you need to be able to do is ground both buttocks, fully extend this right side, and use that to inspire full length on the left side. And with this widening release on the left side, can you encourage a widening release on the right? Can you match the less, can you cross the lessons of each side to the other? And then you come forward, putting in support for your head, be it a chair, bolster, blankets. Keep widening with this thigh. Release back in, keep lengthening with the straight leg. Use the pull on the hand of the hands on the foot or the floor to lengthen the spine. Go forward. Take whatever pose you will take. Now, if you've got enough forward bend to bend your elbows, take them wide. Widen the ribs. Widen the diaphragm. Widen the navel. Widen the sacrum. Lengthen first. Widen second. Come up slowly. Take whatever support you need. Stretch both legs. Okay. Not much time left, so we'll make it as pleasant as possible. Take your blanket and open it back out to this kind of shape. So the basic idea of this shape is that it's as wide as your back. See that? Sticking out on both sides of me. It's about as wide as your shoulders. Okay? That's the main requirement. And it also should be neat, not wrinkly. Because you would notice that no chairs, one blanket, possibly two. So you can do exactly the same thing with the second blanket, but I don't think you'll need to. So watch. Cat's in the way. Move, child. So I start out lying on this blanket, and then I start wiggling, keeping your shirt collar, by the way, pulled forward so there's no choking. I'm going to take this top, see the edge of the blanket. My top shoulder is just going to come off that blanket. What happens is it rolls just my top chest open. Not much there. Now, when you stretch your legs out, sometimes it pulls the collarbones back toward your feet. So you just dig in your heels so it rolls that chest back open. Arms out to the side. So those who know the names of poses, this is the tiniest Setupanta Sarvankasana. So please make it so those top shoulders roll off the blanket onto the floor. So that top shoulder and your skull are on the same level. And the bottom shoulder blade is levered up on top of that blanket. But the top shoulder blade, the one near your head end, is down on the floor. And that is true even when you are fully relaxed. So if when you relax, the shoulders roll up a little bit, dig in those heels and roll a little more toward your chest. So next time that you relax, you stay put. See how this shape influences the pattern of breathing. This shape of the spine. So Lena, or anyone who, if you're moving in this pose, my first instinct is, does the low back hurt? If the low back hurts, you can put a chair underneath your calves. Keep the same shape pose otherwise, but that chair seat actually should go underneath. Now, turn the chair so it faces away from you. And thread your feet through the back edge of the chair to the front edge. And bring that chair all the way in so it touches your back knee. And then in all other respects, you do the same pose. So you find your, see how I can tuck my feet under the back of the chair seat and get it close to me. Now my hands know where to go. When you go backward through the chair seat, your calves, knees can't fall apart. You're just sort of comfortably contained. Mm-hmm. Release the back of the neck, the jaw, the ear canal. When I say relax the ear canal, if there is pressure in the head and neck, frequently the ear canal stops feeling round. It feels slightly flattened on one side. So the more deeply you can relax the jaw, mouth, skull, base of the skull, neck attachments, those deep interior muscles, there are middle ear muscles, muscles around the eardrum. Relax the tongue. Spreading. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody, slowly bring yourselves back. Everybody, bend your elbows, rest your hands on your abdomen. If you're working with the chair, draw your knees off the chair. If you push it away, it might fold up and fall over. So be careful. And then roll over to your right side. Go slow so you stay soft and come up sitting. So usually you don't want to push that chair, you just pull your knees off and roll to the side, or else you get this startling sound. I once was in a workshop where we were doing standing poses and the room was very crowded, and I got impatient and I was at the back of the room next to a big stack of chairs, like too many chairs, and I got impatient and I pushed a chair out of the way, and it set off an avalanche. I mean, an avalanche of 50 chairs that just like fell over and splashed out into the room. It was bad. It was very bad. I have PTSD. I don't have PTSD from that. Namaskar.